Seniors' top 3 super seeds to fight eye aging and boost retinal health fast. Now I know what some of you might be thinking right now. Really? Seeds? You're telling me these tiny things can help save my eyes? And on the other side, I know some of you are already nodding your heads saying, of course, nature always knows best. Whether you're skeptical or you're already a believer in natural remedies, I want you to stick with me today, because what I'm about to share might surprise you. Most of us seniors have been told that blurry vision, glare at night, and dry, itchy eyes are just a normal part of aging. Doctors hand us drops, new glasses, or even talk about surgery, and we start believing there's no other choice. But what if I told you that adding a few simple seeds to your daily meals could actually help protect your retina, reduce inflammation, and keep your eyes sharp for years to come? Yep, these aren't magic pills or expensive supplements. These are humble, affordable seeds you can pick up at any grocery store, and the science behind them is stronger than you might think. Imagine being able to read your favorite book again without squinting, watch your grandkids play soccer without missing a moment, or finally feel confident driving at night, all because of a few daily habits that support your eyes from the inside out. Before we dive into all the juicy details, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, share this video with a friend or loved one who needs it, and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you more honest, science-backed tips to help you stay healthy, strong, and independent. Are you ready to find out which seeds could change the way you see the world? Let's jump right in. Why eye health declines after 60. After age 60, our eyes begin to undergo subtle but powerful changes that most people don't even notice until it starts affecting their everyday lives. One of the first things that happens is reduced tear production, which leads to dry, itchy, burning eyes. You might think it's just because of the weather or allergies, but really it's your eyes begging for help. Tears do more than just express emotions. They keep the surface of your eyes smooth, wash away debris, and protect against infection. As we age, our blood circulation also slows down, meaning your retina doesn't get as much oxygen and nutrients as it needs to stay healthy. I still remember my dad struggling to read the morning newspaper, saying the letters looked fuzzy or like they were floating around. That's not just aging, it's your retina losing support. Another major factor is oxidative stress, which is like rust slowly eating away at the delicate tissues in your eyes. Free radicals from UV rays, processed foods, and pollution attack eye cells over time, leading to conditions like macular degeneration and cataracts. Even if you wear sunglasses, if your diet isn't rich in antioxidants, your eyes stay vulnerable. Chronic inflammation is another hidden problem. It often starts in the gut and silently damages tissues all over the body, including your eyes. A major study from Harvard even found a strong link between poor gut health and faster retinal damage. When I turned 67, I started noticing a foggy feeling in my own vision each morning, and reading charts felt more tiring than before. As a doctor, I knew it wasn't just getting old. It was a sign of slow internal damage. By improving my diet and adding more omega-3s and plant-based antioxidants, my morning clarity came back. Many seniors don't realize these changes until they start avoiding nighttime driving, struggle to read recipes, or feel embarrassed when they can't recognize a friend's face at a party. So many of my patients come to me thinking this is just a normal part of aging, but the truth is we can slow it down dramatically with the right nutrition and habits. Ask yourself, are you finding it harder to see at night? Do your eyes feel dry more often? Are you avoiding activities you once loved because of vision problems? You don't have to accept this as your fate. These are signs your body is asking for help, and you have the power to make changes that protect your sight and your independence. All right, I know you've been waiting for this part. Let's jump right into the top 3 super seeds that can transform your eye health fast. Seed number 1, Chia, the tiny titan. Chia seeds might look tiny and harmless, but they're true heavy hitters when it comes to eye health, especially as we get older. Rich in plant-based omega-3 fatty acids known as ALA, Chia helps reduce retinal inflammation and supports healthy blood flow to those delicate tiny vessels that keep your vision sharp. These seeds are also packed with lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 powerful carotenoids that act like natural sunglasses inside your eyes, shielding them from harsh blue light coming from phones, computers, and TVs, and fighting oxidative stress that can lead to age-related macular degeneration. Have you ever felt like your eyes are just more tired after looking at screens lately? That might be your retina telling you it needs backup, and Chia can offer that protection. One amazing bonus is Chia's unique ability to form a gel when soaked. This gel-like texture helps keep your mucous membranes, including the tear ducts, moist, which is a lifesaver if you constantly struggle with dry eyes or feel like you always need to blink to clear your vision. Think about it. When was the last time you felt your eyes stayed comfortable all day without drops or breaks? From my own experience, adding Chia helped me stop carrying artificial tears everywhere, and now my eyes feel more naturally lubricated, even after long clinic hours. Chia seeds are incredibly versatile. You can stir them into your morning oatmeal, blend them into a smoothie, or make a simple chia pudding to enjoy as a refreshing afternoon snack. The trick is to always mix them into liquid. Never eat them dry because they absorb so much water and could cause digestive discomfort if not properly prepared. Start small with just 1 teaspoon and gradually work up to about a tablespoon daily as your body gets used to the extra fiber and omega-3 boost. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients showed that seniors who consumed omega-3 rich seeds like chia at least 5 times a week reported a 25% improvement in tear film stability and overall eye comfort within 3 months. Isn't that incredible? Let me ask you, have you tried chia seeds before, and if so, did you notice any change in your eye comfort or overall energy? Or maybe you've been curious but worried about how to use them in your meals. Share your thoughts in the comments because your experience might inspire someone else to give them a try. One of my favorite patient stories is from Mrs. Mai, a 74-year-old retired teacher who loved gardening but suffered from constant dry, itchy eyes that worsened whenever she spent time outdoors. After adding chia seeds to her breakfast every morning, she told me she finally felt awake again, and her ophthalmologist even noted less redness and irritation after just 1 month. I can personally relate. Being in my late 60s myself, I used to feel like my eyes were shutting down halfway through the day, especially after staring at medical charts and computer screens. Adding chia seeds made a huge difference in my comfort, and I truly believe they can do the same for anyone willing to give this small but mighty seed a chance. Next time you reach for your breakfast bowl, think about how a single spoonful of chia might be the easiest step you can take to protect your eyes and feel more alive every single day. Seed number 2, Flax, the gentle guardian. The macula is the tiny but mighty center of your vision that lets you see details clearly, whether you're reading a book, sewing, or recognizing your grandchild's face. Flax seeds are one of the best ways to protect this area because they contain even more ALA, omega-3s than chia, offering stronger anti-inflammatory benefits right where you need them most. They also have lignans, rare plant compounds that act as powerful antioxidants to fight free radicals that damage the sensitive cells in your eyes. Plus, flax supports the gut-eye connection, which means it helps calm down inflammation throughout the entire body, including the eyes. A lot of people don't realize that gut health directly affects vision, but it's true. If your gut is inflamed, your eyes usually suffer too. Have you ever felt like your eyes are extra sensitive to bright light, or you see halos around headlights when driving at night? That might be your macula telling you it needs help. I still remember how at 68, I started avoiding evening walks because the glare from streetlights felt like looking into a spotlight. Once I began adding ground flax to my morning smoothie, I noticed less light sensitivity and even better digestion. You should always use ground flax since whole seeds just pass through your system without being absorbed, and remember to store it in the fridge to keep it fresh. Start slow with a teaspoon and work up to a tablespoon as your body adjusts to the fiber. A study from the University of California found that seniors who included ground flax in their diets had up to a 20% improvement in macular pigment density, which helps protect the center of your vision against harmful light and oxidative stress. Have you tried flax before? Did you notice changes in how your eyes handle bright light or glare? I'd love to hear about it because sharing these stories can help someone else find relief. One of my patients, Mr. Son, age 69, used to hate driving at dusk because he saw constant halos and glare from oncoming headlights. After adding ground flax seeds to his daily yogurt, not only did he regain the confidence to drive safely in the evening, but his gut health improved too, and he felt lighter and more energetic. I can't count the number of patients who tell me they feel new again, just from this one small habit. Next time you're having yogurt or soup, think about adding a spoonful of ground flax. It could be the simplest way to help protect your central vision and keep you enjoying the little details that make life beautiful. Seed number 3, sunflower, the forgotten friend. Sunflower seeds are often overlooked, but they might just be one of the best hidden secrets for protecting aging eyes. Packed with vitamin E, they fight oxidative stress that slowly damages your retina and leads to blurry, dull vision over time. Vitamin E acts like a shield, blocking free radicals before they can cause harm, and studies have shown that seniors who get enough vitamin E have a lower risk of age-related macular degeneration. On top of that, sunflower seeds offer healthy fats that help stabilize the tear film, which is crucial for keeping your eyes moist and comfortable throughout the day. Have you ever felt that gritty or burning sensation in your eyes after a long day or while reading late at night? Those fats help prevent that by supporting the natural barrier on your eye surface. These seeds also contain selenium and magnesium, minerals that relax the tiny blood vessels in your retina and improve blood flow so your eyes can get the nutrients and oxygen they need to stay sharp. I remember when I turned 65, I used to avoid reading before bed because my eyes would burn and water so much that I could barely make it through a few pages. Once I started adding a small handful of unsalted, shelled sunflower seeds to my afternoon yogurt, I noticed a big difference. No more burning, and I felt confident enough to get back into my nighttime reading routine. You can sprinkle them on salads, mix into yogurt, or even blend into smoothies if you have sensitive teeth. Just make sure to use ground seeds in that case. Always choose unsalted varieties to avoid adding extra sodium, and be careful not to overdo it if you have gallbladder problems. A large study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors with higher vitamin E intake from natural food sources like sunflower seeds had up to 25% lower risk of developing severe vision problems. Have you ever tried sunflower seeds as part of your daily routine? Did you feel a difference in your eye comfort or your energy? Share your experience because someone else might be inspired by your story. One of my patients, Mrs. Hoa, loved reading bedtime stories to her grandkids, but often had to stop because her eyes felt like they were on fire by the end of the day. After just a few weeks of adding sunflower seeds to her diet, she told me she finally felt like she could finish every story without rubbing her eyes or blinking constantly, and it made her feel more connected to her family than ever before. Next time you're at the grocery store, think about picking up a bag of sunflower seeds. That simple step might be the easiest way to keep your eyes comfortable and your evenings full of clear, joyful moments. The science behind it. Omega-3 fatty acids are like miracle workers for aging eyes because they help reduce chronic inflammation inside the retina, improve the flexibility of blood vessels, and protect against macular degeneration, which is one of the leading causes of blindness in older adults. These healthy fats make the tiny vessels in your eyes more elastic and better able to deliver oxygen and nutrients, almost like upgrading an old garden hose, so water can finally flow freely again. Meanwhile, lignans found in flax and the antioxidants in chia and sunflower seeds fight free radicals, which are unstable molecules that act like little vandals, damaging delicate eye cells and accelerating age-related diseases. Have you ever noticed your vision gets blurrier after a stressful week or a poor diet? That's oxidative stress at work. The gut-eye connection is another surprising but critical piece. When your gut is healthy, it reduces overall inflammation in your body, which indirectly protects your eyes. Think of it like taking care of your home's foundation so your entire house stays strong. I remember when I first started learning about this connection in my 60s. I was skeptical, but after focusing on improving my gut health and adding more seeds, I noticed not only better digestion but clearer, more comfortable vision. There's solid research to back all this up. A Harvard study found that seniors who consumed omega-3 rich seeds at least 4 times a week had a 38% lower risk of severe macular degeneration. In a European trial, seniors who added sunflower seeds to their diets saw a 35% reduction in dry eye symptoms after just 8 weeks. Isn't that incredible? Have you ever thought about how your gut health might be impacting your vision? Or how often do you include omega-3 rich seeds in your meals? Let me know because sharing your story might give someone else the courage to try small changes that could save their sight. When I look back at my own journey, I realized that these simple seeds did more for my eyes than any fancy eye drop ever did. And it's a reminder that sometimes nature gives us the most powerful medicine if we're willing to listen. Practical guide, how to start. The easiest way to get started is to pick one seed first, and I always recommend Chia because it's gentle on the stomach and easy to add into almost any meal. Once you feel comfortable, you can try ground flax, which offers a stronger anti-inflammatory boost. From there, it's all about weaving these seeds into your daily habits so it doesn't feel like a chore. You can sprinkle them over your morning oatmeal or cereal, blend them into a smoothie, or stir them into warm soup or porridge for an extra creamy texture. Back when I first started, I simply added chia to my morning yogurt, and before I knew it, it became as automatic as brushing my teeth. The most important thing is to pay attention to how your eyes and body respond. Do you notice less dryness during the day? Is driving at dusk a bit easier? Do your eyes feel less tired after reading or using the computer? Keep track of these changes each week so you know what's working for you. Once you feel confident, you can start increasing the amount slowly and even combine seeds to maximize benefits. A recent study from the National Eye Institute showed that seniors who consistently tracked their progress and adjusted their nutrition habits had a 30% higher chance of sticking with their new routine long-term. Have you ever tried adding seeds to your meals before, or are you just starting out? What changes did you notice in your vision or your overall energy? I'd love to hear your story because it might encourage someone else who's still on the fence. As someone in his late 60s, I can tell you firsthand that these small, consistent steps turned out to be the easiest and most empowering way to support my eyes and overall health without feeling overwhelmed. A little spoonful each day might sound simple, but it could be the beginning of clearer, brighter days ahead. Psychological and emotional impact. Losing vision isn't just about struggling to read a book or see the TV clearly. It cuts straight to your sense of self and emotional well-being. When your eyesight starts to fade, your confidence often takes a nosedive, making you hesitate to join social activities, avoid community events, or even skip simple outings with friends. The fear of missing a step, not recognizing a face, or constantly asking for help can make you feel like a burden, leading to growing isolation and loneliness. Over time, even small joys like reading a birthday card, watching your grandchild's soccer game, or chatting over coffee can become stressful and frustrating instead of fun. I remember when I started struggling to read menus in dim restaurants. I felt embarrassed asking others to read for me, and it made me want to stay home rather than go out and enjoy life. A study from the Journal of Aging and Health found that seniors with vision impairment are up to 3 times more likely to suffer from depression and anxiety, showing just how deeply our eyes are tied to our mental health. But here's where one simple act, like adding seeds daily, becomes more than just nutrition. It becomes an empowering ritual that helps you reclaim a sense of control. Many of my patients tell me that after improving their eye comfort, they not only see better but feel more hopeful, more connected to their families, and more eager to get back to the hobbies and activities they love. Have you ever felt yourself pulling away from gatherings or avoiding activities because your eyes made you feel unsure or dependent? Or have you tried a small health change that unexpectedly gave you back some confidence? I'd love to hear your experience because your story might remind someone else that it's never too late to take small steps and feel like themselves again. For me, regaining my ability to read comfortably at night wasn't just about words on a page. It was about reconnecting with my curiosity and my love of learning. And it reminded me that no matter our age, we all deserve to see the world clearly and feel truly alive. So there you have it. These top 3 super seeds, chia, flax, and sunflower, might look small, but they each hold the power to help you fight eye aging, protect your retina, and keep your vision sharp and clear as you grow older. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's video, it's this. You are not powerless when it comes to your health. You don't have to sit back and accept that declining vision is just part of getting older. With just one small, consistent habit, like adding a spoonful of seeds to your breakfast or afternoon snack, you can take control, support your body naturally, and keep enjoying all the little details that make life beautiful. I want you to imagine waking up tomorrow morning, feeling confident that your eyes are strong and your world is bright and vibrant. Imagine reading your favorite book without straining or looking across the dinner table and clearly seeing the smiles of your loved ones. That future is possible, and it can start today. Thank you so much for watching and for spending this time with me. I truly appreciate each and every one of you choosing to show up and invest in your health. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. It really does help us reach more seniors who need this information. Share this video with a friend or family member who might be struggling with their eyesight or just wants to feel more in control of their health. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more senior health tips, inspiring stories, and practical advice to help you stay strong, independent, and full of life. Thanks again for watching. Take care of those beautiful eyes, and I'll see you in the next video.